You know the story. It never gets old. 'Twas the night before Christmas. Each year is well told. But there's follow-up to the tale. On a more recent Christmas Eve, another guy saw Santa. He saw the sleigh leave. When what did he see as the reindeer took flight? Their tails had brown tops, but all the bottoms were pure white. Some reindeer have black tails. They're good reindeer, too. A reindeer's tail color is like race for me and you. Could this be racism, rearing its head, a dark secret at the North Pole, a situation to dread? He picked up the phone. He called Jesse Jackson. He called the Reverend L. Sharpton. He demanded some action. They mobilized activists. Presses started to roll. They mobilized news teams to descend on the North Pole. They did exposés on the reindeer and elves. They examined racial makeup. They saw it themselves. Yes, they found racism throughout Santa's operation. No black-tailed reindeer, not enough minority elves of high station. For days they reported, every day headline news. They ruled Santa guilty, for he gave no interviews. "Like to want a brawling, Ferguson," Jackson and Sharpton shouted. "We won't stand for this racism. Santa won't speak, so you can't doubt it." Everyone was talking about the story, and then it became so important. President Obama chimed in. "Now, I don't know the details, other than names like Comet and Cupid, but since all the tails are Snow White, Santa Claus, acted stupid. What's more, I can say, the elves of color, you see, those discriminated elves, could easily be me. We're a nation of laws, full of racists, no doubt. So I'm launching a query from the Justice Department." Boycotts were discussed. Santa may have had his last Christmas Eve trip. If Santa was racist, people wouldn't welcome old St. Nick. But then, one post-Christmas morning, the story had run for a week. The jolly bearded man appeared. Finally, Santa would speak. He approached microphones, set up for the task. He started his speech before a single question was asked.
"I've heard all this blather. It's all lies that you've spun. I'll set the record straight then. You can leave us alone. I don't have time to count tails or examine race. Unlike you, every year, all year round, I've got too much work to do. It's a big job delivering toys all around the world, every place. The reindeer and elves were chosen for skills, not race. I have a suggestion. You may ignore it, that's fine. You tend to your business, and I'll tend to mine. As for you, President Obama, if you didn't speak so often, nobody would miss you. How do you have time for this stuff? You have more important issues. The North Pole isn't part of your PC-mad nation. Your Justice Department has no jurisdiction outside your oration. Folks, you can have your opinions, but I don't accept them. I won't hold it against you. I'll still bring toys to your children. You see, Christmas isn't about your silly race causes. It's about the birth of a savior, a reminder of that gift. Ho, 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 Santa Claus is."
With that, Santa nodded. He turned on his heel. He walked back to his workshop. He had finished his spiel. The people watching at home changed their minds, stopped their tantrum. Next year, just like always, of course they'd welcome Santa. How silly the race baiters looked, how petty. They had all jumped on nonsense they thought was news-ready. The reporters departed. Their story had ended. Their efforts had failed, no matter how they had pretended. There was no racism at the North Pole. Santa wasn't a bigot they caught. They had taken a misconception and weaved a story from whole cloth. Sharpton, Jackson, and the activists were so humbled and meek, they weren't heard from again, at least until the next week.